This aircraft was developed in the early 1930s, during the time when Germany still had to keep the military development secret from other nations. It was one of the biggest float planes used by Germany when World War II broke out, and despite being an older design, it was only retired in 1944. This was the Heinkel He. So let's see the history of this aircraft today. During the late 1920s and early 1930s, the German Navy and Air Force needed larger float planes for the maritime reconnaissance and torpedo bomber role, as the types used at the time, like the Arado WWII or the Heinkel He, were either obsolete or too small for these roles. But during the early 1930s, the German military expansion was restricted by the Versailles Treaty, forced on the country after the First World War. Despite this, many new vehicles were developed in secret, disguised as civilian designs, as it happened, for example, with the Heinkel He 111 bomber, which was also presented at first as a civilian airliner. Similarly to other vehicles, the new floatplane project was also advertised as a civilian passenger or cargo aircraft. When the Reich Marine sent out the requirements to the manufacturers for this new so-called cargo aircraft, the designers at the Heinkel company set to work with the lead of Reinhold Mewes, and the design work on the new aircraft was finished in early 1930. Though the proposed aircraft was a fairly conventional design, not much different from other floatplanes around the world, and it was an old-fashioned biplane with two BMW engines mounted between the wings. But it was the largest plane built by the Heinkel company up to that point, and it was a great way to get more experience with larger floatplanes. Experience they have put to good use in the upcoming years. Since the requirements asked for an aircraft which can operate both from land and from sea, two separate prototypes were built. The He-59A variant, which used floats, and the He-59B with conventional landing gear. None of them carried armament to keep the image of being built for civilian purposes, and they featured slightly different designs. While the land-based variant stored all the fuel in the fuselage, on the A variant the designers made use of the huge floats and used part of them as fuel tanks, increasing the range of the aircraft and freeing up space in the fuselage, which could be used to carry additional fuel or a bigger payload. The land-based B variant was the first to fly in September 1931, followed by the maiden flight of the floatplane A variant in January 1932. The prototypes were tested all through 1932, and a small batch of pre-production aircraft was built for evaluation. Finally, in 1933, the newly formed RLM accepted the A variant into service. The first batch of 16 production models of the He-59B1 variant were ordered after the trials, which only differed from the prototype A variant in minor details, and they only featured a single 7.92mm machine gun in the nose. But this small batch was soon followed by other improved versions of the plane, so let's take a look at its variants. The He-59A was the first prototype using floats. The He-59B was the second prototype, built with conventional landing gear. This plane was later converted to floats as well. The following He-59B1 was the first pre-production series, featuring only one machine gun and small changes from the prototypes. The next B2 variants were the first production versions, which to speed up deliveries were now license-built at the Arado factory as well. These variants featured a new all-metal nose with bomb aiming panels and glazing for a ventral gun position. Now the plane featured 3 defensive machine guns, one in the nose, one in the ventral and one in the dorsal position. Based on the B2 version, some more specialized variants were developed, like the B3, which to be more suited for long-range reconnaissance carried only 2 machine guns and additional fuel tanks in the fuselage. The C1 variant didn't carry armament and was used for training purposes or long-range reconnaissance missions, and featured a new nose design without the glazing, bombing equipment or armament. The following C2 was a dedicated sea rescue version. Instead of armament, it could carry rescue equipment and 6 inflatable boats. The D1 variant was used for pilot and navigation training and received a new nose section, featuring a canopy and no glazing. The following E1 version was converted from C variants for torpedo training, while the E2 variant was a dedicated photoreconnaissance aircraft. And finally, the N variant was a navigation trainer version. The He-59 was 17.4 meters long, with a wingspan of 23.7 meters, being somewhat bigger than a B-25 Mitchell bomber. It had an empty weight of 5,010 kilograms and a maximum takeoff weight of 9,119 kilograms. The plane was powered by two BMW 6 engines, each of them producing 660 horsepower. The big plane was somewhat underpowered with these engines, and only had a maximum speed of 221 km an hour and a cruise speed of 185 km an hour. It had a range of 942 km and a service ceiling of 3,500 meters. The plane's defensive armament consisted of three 7.92mm machine guns, and it could carry either 1,000 kg of bombs, or an 800 kg torpedo, or 1,000 kilograms of sea mines. Deliveries of the first production He-59s started in 1935, and in the same year the first squadron using these planes was formed. As with many new German designs, their first combat use happened in the Spanish Civil War, where a variation of German aircraft was field tested as part of the Condor region. The He-59s arrived to Spain in September 1936 on a merchant ship. After the assembly and testing, they immediately started flying combat missions to support the nationalist forces. In January 1937, one of them attacked a Republican cargo ship with a torpedo, and even though they missed the ship, this event was the first aerial torpedo attack since the end of the First World War. Some of these planes used in Spain were modified to carry a 20mm cannon in the nose for anti-shipping operations, instead of the original machine gun. In February 1937, they lost the first of these planes when, under attack by Republican I-15 fighters, it crashed into the sea. During 1937 and 1938, they carried out attacks against shipping and coastal railways, and though they lost several planes, but the replacement ones were constantly ferried over to Spain. By the outbreak of World War II, the He-59s were mostly considered obsolete. Their production at the Arado factory ceased in 1938, and their successor, the Heinkel He G115, entered service in 1939, featuring a modern monoplane design with higher speed and bigger range. If you're interested in the history of that type, I have already made a video covering it. Check it out. The He-59s were still used as frontline aircraft in the first years of the war, but already work started to implement the earlier mentioned modifications to create the dedicated long-range reconnaissance, training, and rescue variants, as the type was getting outclassed more and more in the frontline duty by newer designs. They participated in the invasion of Poland in September 1939, attacking coastal batteries and troops. During these operations, the Germans lost 3 of these planes. In the second half of 1939, they were deployed to the west and started patrolling the Baltic and North Seas, looking for enemy ships and submarines. At the end of the year, together with the newer He G115s, they started flying missions to the east coast of England, dropping sea mines. They participated in the invasion of Norway and Denmark in April 1940, carrying infantry and artillery troops and flying rescue missions. They were also used during the occupation of Holland, and this is where their most unique combat operation took place. On the 10th of May, 12 of these planes took off from Lake Zwischenau and flew to the Maas River in Rotterdam, carrying German troops to capture bridges before they could be destroyed. The operation was a success. The planes landed near the Willem Bridge, and the German troops managed to capture the bridges before the Dutch forces even realized what was happening. During the Battle of Britain, they flew air-sea rescue missions painted white featuring the Red Cross. But the Allies suspected that under the disguise, the He-59s were still used to drop mines, and they radioed information back to their base. So despite the red crosses, the British declared them valid targets. Their suspicion was confirmed in July 1940, when a He-59 crew was captured after their emergency landing near Sunderland, and the pilot admitted their main task was to deliver agents and conduct reconnaissance. The plane's Covert use now confirmed. From July, the British fighters were instructed to shoot at any German rescue aircraft, and after this, the He-59 losses quickly mounted. In July and August, the Germans lost 9 of these planes. After the Battle of Britain, the remaining He-59s were deployed to the Mediterranean and the Black Sea to carry out rescue missions. They were used until the end of 1943, when they were replaced by newer flying boats. Though these planes were designed well before the Second World War, and were outdated even when the war broke out, they took part in interesting missions, and they were important parts of the German war machine. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and in the comments let me know if there's any interesting events or vehicles you'd like to see.